held you hostage because I was being held hostage back there. Oh, wow, look at this Wednesday night. Does no one work on Thursdays? Is this the whole work from home bullshit where everyone just fucking sleeps in and nobody cares about professionalism anymore? And we're like, no, fuck capitalism. No, I just love naps. That's all it is. Oh, thank you so much for coming out. This is crazy. This is a bonus show. Did not anticipate having to do this. I've never had this level of success before, and it unnerves me. As a Pakistani, I don't trust good luck. I just don't. This is actually true, but they're not part of the show. I'm just telling you up top. This is true in Pakistan. If you have good luck, you get paranoid about bad luck following good luck. So what you usually do is you tell someone to sacrifice a goat. And I am not lying. Yesterday I called my mom in Karachi and I was like, can you sacrifice a goat? Because where I'm about to do a last show, I just want to go well. So a goat died for this. And I'm just saying, there's a lot of pressure on you now. You better make it worth the goat's life. We give the meat to the poor. We don't hate goats. Anyway, fuck it. Wasn't part of my show. I don't know why I started with that. It's great work, very professional. What happened to the security guard? Remember the security guard? Like what? Nobody's remember? Does nobody remember the security guard? Like where is he now? What? No? Okay, remember at the start of lockdown, there was a security guard. Remember, like, who was in? Yeah, a few people like, oh yeah, remember? Like, there was a quarantine hotel, and there was a security guard working. Yes, now you remember. At the quarantine hotel, and someone in the hotel got horny. Which is what happens when you stay in hotels. Let's be honest, it's mostly just wearing bathrobes and wanking. And they got horny and they're like, fuck it, I'm gonna get me some security guard action. And they messaged the security guard. We knew details. Like we knew all of this. We knew there was a security guard. We knew that someone got horny and they had sex with the security guard. And then we knew the security guard went on the train and it was a super spreader event, remember? Like that was, and we were so angry. Why did he fuck one person? He fucked all of us. Like we were so upset, remember? At one point, we knew way too many details. Like at one point, Daniel Andrews is just giving positions in the press conferences, you know? And then it turned out, I don't know if anyone remembers this, that there never was a security guard. That's right, there was a plot twist. There never was. Our lives were an M. Night Shyamalan fucking movie. Where there never was a security guard. It was just some Herald Sun journalist's first draft of an erotic pandemic novel. Like Mills and Boons and COVID or some shit like that. Remember? And here's the thing, like everyone was relieved when they found out that there wasn't a security guard, right? But I was upset because I used to be really happy for him. I was, because I know a lot of these guys, right? I know a lot of security guards, a lot of them are friends of mine. They're guys like me, they're from India, they're from Pakistan. Many of them work 3-4 jobs, they have university education as well. They live 5 guys to an apartment. And no one fucks them, right? Like nobody. I know, none of you are racist, but you fuck racist. Let's be honest here. And that's why I understood it when they're like, why did he go on the train for a super spreader? I was like, he was high-fiving his friends. Like that's what that was. That's what happened there. No, it's you know what I missed though about lockdown is I missed the fact that there was one news story. And that's all we focused on. And that's all we cared about. Every day for almost a year, there was one thing we all worried about. Now, it's just bananas. Like now you turn on the news and it's like men in parliament wanking on a desk. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, and I'm in that awkward situation now. We're like, I've been in Australia for 9 years. 9 years I've been in Australia. I moved here 9 years ago. And I can now honestly, like truthfully say, like I wish I had migrated to New Zealand instead. I really fucked up. I really made a bad choice. That was... I know, I'm not supposed to say that. I'm an immigrant. We're supposed to be grateful all the time. You're never allowed to criticize. Immigrants, any immigrants in here tonight? Yeah, there's a few. Like, you don't have to be scared. There's a few, like, the woo is there, but it's not an energetic woo. You see what you do to us? They're like, woo! There's a strap. Is Dutton here? Woo! Hey, where was the woos from? Yeah, where are you from, sir?
New Zealand.
New Zealand! New Zealand! Can we swap? What the? Why are you here?
Parents came here.
Your parents came here. Oh, so you've been here throughout. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But you're still an immigrant, but yes. But New Zealand, I don't know. Like, that's, yeah, it's like crossing over to the bad side of the street is all you've done. Like, there's nice shops here, and then there's like a kebab shop, and that's it on the other side, and that's where you're here. Yeah. Any other immigrants? Anyone? Wow, so scared. There were a few woos earlier, but now. Oh, don't raise your hand. It's dark. I can't fucking see you. This is participatory comedy show. Where are you from, sir? Venezuela! That's a proper fucking immigrant. Third world country, developing nation. Fuck yes, that's a proper immigrant. You would have how long have you been here?
12 years.
12 years. Okay, so you would have had this happen to you as well, I'm sure, right? It happens to every immigrant, particularly ones like us from like shitty third world countries. What happens is you tell someone you're an immigrant, and in the first few years, they will always come up to you. And it's usually a white guy at a party after a few drinks. And he will always ask you the same question. Always. And he's like, how do you like Australia, mate? But he'll never ask it like it's always like at this angle, like it's very aggressive question. And it's like, how do you like Australia, mate? And you're not allowed, you can only give one answer. You're not allowed to not give that. The answer you're allowed to give is, it's great. I love it, it's great. Right? You're not allowed to improvise. I improvised once. It was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done it. I improvised because he was like, how do you like Australia, mate? And I was like, it's a little racist. No, don't say that. Don't. Because right away, I got hit with, well, if you don't fucking like it, go back where you fucking came from. If you don't like it, why didn't you go back where you fucking came from? And I had to tell him, because there were suicide bombers there. Like, that is way worse. Like, they're racist here. At least the racists don't explode. Like, I'm grateful for that. But there are racists. You can't deny the existence of the racists, right? Unless you're an immigrant. You're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed to, because if you say that they're racists, right away you get hit with, mate, I grew here, you flew here. Right? The idea being that if you were born in Australia, you are allowed to say anything. But if you weren't born here, if you came here from another country, you're not allowed to say anything at all. You're not allowed to criticize it. And I fundamentally reject that fucking hypothesis. I will have no truck with it. I do not like it because I think actually it's the wrong way around. I think if you were born in Australia, you can't say anything. You're not allowed to say anything because you did nothing to fucking earn it. What did you do? You came out of a vagina and it was yours? Fuck you! Fuck, I worked hard. I left a third world country. I spent money. I came, and by the way, immigration is a customer service industry. And I want to speak to the fucking manager. Because you fucked me, Australia. You really did. You fucked me on the purchase, right? Like, because I got here in 2012, and there was a woman prime minister, and she was cool, and she was feminist, and she was an atheist, and she had cool policies. And I was like, that's awesome. And then I got here, and there was Tony Abbott, Malcolm Turnbull, Scott Morrison. That's catfishing. You catfished me. It's not allowed. And then they're like, get a job. And if you're an immigrant, like, they're like, get a job. And so you get a job. And they're like, stop taking jobs away from white people. It's like, I don't know what to do. Like, does the job exist or not? Like, is this Schrodinger's job? Like, what am I doing here? This side of the room educated, that side not so much. I like that. It's getting a feel. I got a job. Briefly, I did. I had a job for a while. I tried it out. I tried the job thing. It was a weird job, so I got to give you the backstory for the job, right? So here's what happened. Does everyone know who Red Simons is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Red Simons, if you're an immigrant, you don't know, Red Simons is an Australian institution, right? Like he was in Skyhooks, the band. He was on Hey Hey It's Saturday, and only one out of those two has had blackface on it, and that's an Australian institution. And so Red Simons used to do radio for ABC Melbourne 774, right? For breakfast radio for 15 years. For 15 years he did it, and at the end of the 15 years, he didn't know it would be the end of the 15 years. It turned into the end of the 15 years because one day in the 15th year, Red Simon said something racist. Now, I will be the first person to admit, I don't think it was that racist. I don't. I think it was a little bit racist, but not a lot racist. Like, I think it was like half a Pauline Hanson racist. Like, it was like quarter your nan racist. Like, that's how racist it was, you know? And then the ABC sprang into action and fired him 6 months later. And which was a shock to Red because no one in the history of Australia has ever been fired for racism before or since. And then the ABC wanted to show that we are not racist. Look how not racist. Look how much we love diversity. So they replaced Red with me, a brown man. Yeah, me, a brown man, and my co-host, a very good friend of mine, Jacinta Parsons, a white woman. Thus answering inadvertently the age-old question: what is the value of a white man? It's one brown man plus one white woman equals one white man. And that's a useful metric to know. Like, if you need to measure a cupboard and you don't have any white men around, like substitution, that's how that works. It's great. And then the ABC was like, this is too much diversity, so they fired the brown man. And that was my job. I had a job for a while. But it was a fun job. It was a really interesting job. I had it for 2 years, and I had really interesting reactions. A lot of people were lovely, all right? A lot of people of color, migrants, and everyone were lovely about it. A lot of white people were not happy because I am not Red Simons. And I know, here's the thing, many of you might be seeing me for the first time. Some of you have seen me before, doing comedy or on radio or something, and some of you might be watching my show for the first ever time, and so you don't know this about me, but I am not Red Simons. And it was very disappointing for a lot of people. So I used to get weird reactions. So a lot of the reactions used to be people would call in, and one guy would call in regularly, and he would always say the same thing. And he'd be like, what is this, Radio Bangladesh? And I was always like, okay, that's pretty fucking funny. Funny is funny, I respect funny, right? Like, that's... The one that pissed me off was every day, for 2 years, every day, one guy texted in, every day, and he said the same thing. He said, so if I move to Pakistan, will they give me a radio show? And I couldn't reply. I wasn't allowed to reply, but I wanted to reply because I always wanted to say to him, oh my God, are you kidding me? No white people ever moved to Pakistan. It's not a tourism hotspot. They would freak the fuck out. They would be like, oh my God, put a microphone on him. He might have something to say. Like that? Are you... This is true. This is actually true. In Pakistan, when I was growing up, we had a TV show because it was Pakistan's first reality TV show, and the only reason it existed in the 80s and early 90s was because a white guy moved to Pakistan, right? There was a white guy named George who lived in London, and it sounds like I'm making that up, like it's the laziest improv, but it's true. There was a George from London. He married a Pakistani woman, and he moved to Pakistan, and the country freaked the fuck out. We were like, I don't know, why is he here? Are they back? What's going on? Do they want the land back? What is... Everyone, we're like, put cameras on him, follow him everywhere, and broadcast it to the country. It was literally the first reality TV show. It was called George Ka Pakistan, which means George's Pakistan. We were like, fuck it, it's yours again, mate. We're not arguing this. That. The whole country, we used to watch it every day, George Ka Pakistan. It was just him walking around Pakistan, being white. And we were like, this is amazing. Look at how white he is. It's unbelievable. Like, this is how we learned about white things. Like, this is how we learned what mayonnaise was, and it was wonderful, right? Because here's the thing, like, people don't realize, like, in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, like South Asia, these countries, we have a complicated relationship with whiteness. We really do. We don't like. It's not something we like admitting, but it's true. We do have a big. The reason is because, like, so a lot of people don't know the history of the area, right? So up until 1947, the British had colonized that whole part of the world, South Asia, that whole part of the world. The British had colonized it, and that's why, like, my English is so much better than yours, right? Like, that's. I mean, it is. Let's be honest. And then the British left, but they left behind the British standards of beauty, right? Which was whiteness, and we became obsessed with it. Like, it became a thing in our culture. It's overtaken our culture, and to this day, in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, like, the whiter you are, the more beautiful you are considered. It's a terrible thing. It's very, and like, it's weird. Like, it affects you in weird ways. Like, my grandmother, this is true. My grandmother loved me more than all her other grandchildren. This is true because I have really white feet. Like, I have really, like, I should have worn sandals if I was going to do this. I just realized, but, like, my feet are very white. Like, my feet are so white, my feet can get a job before the rest of me. Like, that's how white they are. And you get a cream in Pakistan and India, you get a cream called Fair and Lovely. It's a fairness skin cream. The idea being you rub it on your face and it makes you whiter and thus lovelier, right? Like, it's bleach. You're fucking rubbing bleach in your face, but that's how it works. And I remember, like, as a kid in Pakistan growing up, I saw an ad on TV. And the ad affected me profoundly. It was an ad in which a woman goes for a job interview, right? And it's a Fair and Lovely ad. She goes for a job interview, and she's a brown woman in a brown country going for a job interview where the interviewer is brown. But she is a dark shade of brown. Like, she's dark brown, her skin is dark brown. And so she goes for the interview, and they're like, you are too brown for us. Like, this is, like, they had the same hiring policy as the ABC. And they were like, you're too brown. And then she went home, and she was really sad. And then her sister gives her a tube of Fair and Lovely. And she rubs it on her face, and they show an animation of her becoming whiter, and then she goes back for the job interview again, and she gets the fucking job. Because they're like, you're white now, we must give you the job. Like, that's genuinely what happened. And by the way, the thing that stuck with me was the job was fucking radio presenter. She was a radio presenter. They're like, you're so white, the whiteness is going through the microphone. We must give you the job. Like, that's, and I remembered that ad my whole childhood, and I moved to Australia in 2012. And I remember thinking back then, like, oh, they're not going to like me. I'm a brown man in a white country. They're not going to like me at all. Like, it's going to be weird. And I'll come here, and they'll judge me. And I got here. And you know what? Every white person I met here, is just rubbing spray tan on all the fucking time, like, just with oven mitts and shit, and they're lying in the sun, and then the Prime Minister's always talking about curry, and I was like, oh my God, they love brown people, I need to show them how brown I am. So I went on the microphone on a radio job to put my brownness through the microphone, and they were like, what is this, Radio Bangladesh? And I was like, fuck you, man, I can't. Thank you. I love the smattering of applause. That's my favorite kind of applause. It's really hot, by the way. Sorry, this is not part of the show. Did not anticipate stripping halfway through. But no, so I think what it is, for me, it comes down to the fact that I miss Trump. I do. Any Trump supporters in the room? Yeah, a few people, right? Like fucking MAGA, baby. Like, that's. No, I do. I miss him so much. I love Trump. I did. Because you know why? With Trump, you finally knew where you stood with white people. Like, it was so refreshing, right? Like, because normally white people, you're not tricksy with your racism, right? Like, you're not open with it. You do stuff like, oh, it's political correctness gone mad, and it's like, oh, you just want to say the fucking N-word. Like, that's all you really want. But with Trump, white people were out. They were open about their racism. It was refreshing. Like, you knew how they felt. And like in Melbourne, like, that's why I hate doing comedy in Melbourne. Like, I love the fact that you're here, but I hate doing comedy in Melbourne because in Melbourne, you're just not honest about your racism. Like, you're not, right? You're not. Like, you're not honest about your racism. In Melbourne, you're always like, oh, I don't want someone to know that I'm racist. Like, I feel like, what if someone finds out? According to all of Melbourne, Andrew Bolt is the only racist in the fucking city. And they're like, oh, he moved to the Mornington Peninsula. We solved racism in Melbourne. No, fuck you. All right, fuck you. I know what's up. That's why I like performing in like places like Brisbane and Adelaide and Perth, because like they are honest. Their baseline is, yeah, we're racist. And then you can be like, cool, now they'll judge my jokes on the level of funny, right? But in Melbourne, you don't. In Melbourne, you freak out. You're like, what if I laugh and someone thinks I'm racist? Like, it's a racial joke, but I don't know what might be racist. Like, I don't know, and I don't want people to think I'm racist. Like, I have an Indian friend at work. Like, what if he finds out? It'll be... No, we never hang out. No, I just don't want him to know. Sorry, no, I don't know his name. But it'll be weird. Like that's the. I think okay, I'll take the burden off your shoulders. I think what it is white people worry that if we find out you are racist, we will judge you for it, right? But here's the thing. All people of color, all blacks, browns, Asians, like all of us, we just assume all white people are racist. Like we're not, when we meet you, we're like, yeah, probably racist. And then within a couple of hours, you'll say something like, oh yeah, I love curry. And you're like, oh fuck man, yeah, he's racist. So just don't worry about it. Like just know that you're racist and laugh and don't laugh. Like that's how it works. But no, that's why, I loved when Trump was there. It was exciting. It was so fucking exciting. Like you knew, I thought like we're gonna watch the fall of Western democracy. This is gonna be great. And then, like, remember when they charged the Capitol? Yeah. Oh my God, that was the best. It was so good. Remember, like there were like all these white people charging, and I was like, it's school time. And I was like, I got in front of the TV. I was like, they're gonna put fucking senators' heads on spikes, and it's gonna be amazing. And then nothing. White people. Why can't you coo? Like what is wrong with you? Like what? Like brown people, we coo well. We coo hard. When we coo, the guy we're cooing against ends up in a ditch on fire with a shotgun up his ass. Like that's that's called the Gaddafi special. Like that's how we coo. But when white people coo, like what the fuck are you doing? It's like selfies and flags. Like what is... And what's with the fucking flags, white people? Why do you love flags so fucking much? What is with the fucking flag? You ever go out to those like really fucked up outer suburbs like Epping or Tarneet? Those fucked up places where you've pushed all the immigrants, all the blacks and browns and Asians live there now. Like that's right. There's always like one white family which bought too soon and didn't sell on time. And now they're trapped because all their neighbors are black and brown, and their real estate is now dog shit. And it's the white household without even seeing the owners because they're the ones with the fucking flag on the lawn. Like, why is the flag on the fucking do they forget which country they're in? Like, do they like, oh, is this South Sudan? Like, oh, it's still Australia. It's fine. Like that's. Like, I never use a flag. Fuck flags. Fuck flags. I have never used a flag. I have never needed a flag. The only time I have ever used a flag is when I've needed a backdrop when I'm beheading someone. And that's... What happened? What? Feeling out the room. No, but things have changed because of Trump. That's just it. Because everyone, now people are like, oh, it's back to normal. Biden's here. No, it's changed. It's never going back. Like, I know it's changed because now I racially profile, people. Like, I hate racial profiling, right? Like, every time I go through the airport and if I have a backpack, I hate, you ever notice, how there never were any, now there's no backpackers. But for a while there, all the backpackers were white. You ever notice that? Like, there were no brown or black backpackers. is because like when white people backpack, right? When they turn up into a country and they're like, "Hi, I'm here now," like everyone's like, "Yeah, sure, come on in, like pick some cherries, whatever." Like, but when brown people turn up with a backpack, we're like, "Hi, I'm here now," and they're like, "Show me the fucking backpack." Like it's a very different reception. But now, like, I racially profile. And I hate that. I hate doing it, but I can't help it. Like, now if I see a white guy, like you, like you're perfectly nice white guy, very handsome, nice hair, nice face, everything. But if I see, like, normally I would have seen you and I'd be like, oh, white guy. That's it, right? Like, that's, like, but now, like, maybe if I had to stereotype in the past, I'd be like, okay, serial killer, right? Like, that was your stereotype at most, right? Like that. But now when I see a white guy and he's like normal, perfect, and I'm like, oh shit, Proud Boy? Like that's, I'm like, could he be a terrorist? Like that he could try taking over fucking parliament or the capital and like killing people. He could be a terrorist. And by the way, that's our stereotype. That's another thing fucking white people have taken away from us. It's cultural appropriation gone mad, and I'm sick of it. I just... No, it's I don't trust white women either, by the way. I don't. Hot white women, fuck off. I don't trust you at all. Like that's... No, I'll tell you, because I've been to the rallies, that's why. Right? Like I used to be a journalist, and as a journalist I'd go to like rallies and like I went to the Reclaim Australia, One Nation, like the neo-Nazi rallies, and you go there and it's always the same demographic. It's always like 17 really buff white guys with tattoos and one really hot white woman. And I was always like, why the fuck is she there? Why is she, what is her... And then I started listening and I started paying attention, and I realized what happens is no one ever tells hot white women to shut the fuck up, right? Like nobody, they can say anything. They can be like, they should put brown people in cages, and every white guy's like, I just want to be in you. Like, I don't care, like whatever. Right? They are the apex predators of racism. Like they really are. And I know it's true because I went on a date once with a hot white woman. I went on a date with a hot white woman. It's a true story. I caught her using hummus and celery sticks and Pinot Grigio. That's what they eat. It's the dumbest joke, sorry. But no, it's true. I went on a date with a hot white woman. She's beautiful. She's blonde hair, blue eyes, like beautiful. And I went on a date with her, and this is a true story. It's actually happened. We ordered drinks. And the waiter went to get the drinks. So the waiter had not yet returned with the first round of drinks. And she turned to me and she said, "This is exciting. I've never done it with a curry muncher before." And I was upset. I was angry. I was shocked. I was hurt. Because I hate that phrase so much. Because why muncher, right? Like it doesn't make sense. Like curry is a liquid. You can't munch a liquid. Like you can slurp, like maybe slurp, curry slurper, but now I'm fucking doing the work for you. And you know what? Racists aren't accurate. And that's what pisses me off. I wish I had the moral fortitude to say that she didn't do it with a curry muncher that night. But that's the night I discovered I have a fetish, and that's fucking racist. And that's... So... We both won, I feel. We both won. Now it's... You know what? I know. I sound ungrateful. I do. I know. I get it. I know. But it's not. I do love being in Australia. I love being in Australia. I've been 9 years, and I am grateful for it. Like it's fucking amazing. It's so like Melbourne is so fucking cool. Like it's the best place to live. I'm so grateful we live. Like no other city could have done the shit we did with lockdown. No, I'm sorry. Like 5 days and they freaked the fuck out, right? Like they couldn't handle shit. We did for 7 fucking months, right? We are so amazing as a city that we called him Dictator Dan. We called him Dictator Dan. I have lived under 2 dictators. Do you know what you're not allowed to call the dictator? Do you know what the dictator doesn't like being called when he's a dictator? It's fucking dictator! He would have, if he was for real, he would have been citizen number 1 Dan. Like, that's how that would have gone. No, it's amazing. It is. And I think what happens is, though, because it's so good, we get too proud of what happens, and then how good it is, and then we get nationalistic. And nationalism is where it gets scary, because nationalism makes you mean, it makes you angry, it makes you hate others who might threaten how good things are now, and that's where it gets bad, right? Like, and I know it's true because I became nationalistic for a while. I did. I became nationalistic about Australia, and it wasn't I became so nationalistic. I'll be honest, I yelled at my daughter. And I'm not proud of it. I don't like raising my voice at her. But I did it. And what happened is, like, so I'm from Karachi, right? 26 million people. It's a massive city. But people don't understand. Like you have stereotypes about developing nations, third world countries. Here's what you have to know. We have the same shit you have. Everything you have, we have. It's just not as good. A lot of the stuff is just not as good, right? So we, like, you know why I love being in Australia? It's not fucking Centrelink and Medicare. People are like, oh, immigrants are here for jobs and Centrelink and Medicare. No, fuck that. Like, I don't care about any of that shit. You know what I love still 9 years later? Is that I can drink water from the tap. Are you kidding me? I can put a fucking glass under the tap and just drink whatever comes out of it? Like, that's amazing to me. If I put a glass under the tap in Pakistan, I will get a dead baby in that fucking glass. Like, that is not something you try. Like, that's, oh my God, but here, electricity that just stays on all the time. Like, it just stays on and then on and then on. Like, that's the shit we love. Like, strawberries. Right? I'm from Karachi, and Karachi, growing up, we didn't have strawberries. I never ate a strawberry through my entire childhood. I knew they existed because I saw them in movies, right? I saw strawberries in movies, and I was like, I want those. Like, there's a lot of stuff I only learned from movies, which was like strawberries, casual sex. Like, I was like, those are things I want in my life. And then what happened was, one day my mom comes into my room and she's like, quickly, I was like 8, 9 years old, and she's like, quickly, there's a shop across the city, and they have strawberries. And let's go get them. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I want to try strawberries. So we jumped in the car, and we drove across the city, and there was a shop, they get like foreign goods from foreign countries, and they had strawberries. And we were so excited. Oh my God, they were very expensive. Like, we actually had to think, like, can we afford these? Like, should we afford these? This is crazy. We got, like, they're so expensive. But my mom had never had them, and she wanted to try them. So we're like, let's do it. So we bought like a box of strawberries, and we brought it home. And it was frozen. It was like a frozen box, so it was like a brick of strawberries. And we brought it home, and we wanted to eat it, but we didn't know how to, like, get, because it was so cold. It was frozen solid. So we're like, what do we? So we had just got our first microwave. We were the first family in the neighborhood to get a microwave. No one else had a microwave. None of my friends had. Like, my friends used to come over to my house to watch us use them. I'm not even making this up. They'd watch me use the microwave. Like, I'd put a plate of food in there, and then we'd all gather around, and then I'd press the go button, and then we'd just be like, like we all have tumors now. But we had. And so my mom was like, there's a defrost button on the microwave, like, maybe we should use that. And I was like, I don't know, you're the adult, you know better. And she's like, she didn't know either. So we put the strawberries, the frozen strawberries, in the microwave, and we didn't know how to use it. So we're like, this is really cold, so we put them in for 12 minutes. But we didn't know how to turn it on the defrost setting. So we just cooked them for 12 minutes. And at the 12-minute mark, it goes ding, and I open the microwave door, and I take out the strawberry. I took out a bowl of steaming strawberry, like, Curry. It was strawberry curry. That's what it was. Strawberry fucking curry. I remember the little dimples were floating in it, and I was like, but I want to have. So I took a spoon. I said, want to have it. So I took a spoon, and I took my foot because the texture took like. I munched it. It was I munched the curry. I munched the strawberry curry, and it was amazing. It was the best strawberries I've ever had because the first strawberries I'd ever had. I'd never had strawberries before that. And I remember, like, a year later, I moved to Australia. And I come here. And here, the streets of Melbourne are paved with strawberries. Like you have strawberries hither, thither, and yon. Like, you do not give a fuck. Like, you have so many strawberries, you put needles in them. You're like, whatever, like, we don't care. Like, that's... And I was like, oh my God, strawberries. So I bought a box of strawberries for my daughter, and I brought it home. I want her to have them, and I put them in front of her, and I was like, here, Baba, eat strawberries. And she picked one up, and she took her first bite. And she went, ew. And I said, why didn't you go back where you fucking came from? Like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. It was bad. I know what it is though. I think it's because like I talk about white people a lot, and you aren't used to that, right? Like, I think what it is in Australia is you're not even used to being called white people. Like, you're just used to being called people. Like, whenever I say white people, they're like, oh, is that racist? Like, I don't know. Like that. I had a guy come up to me after the show once, and he's like, you're racist against white people. And I'm like, that's not how racism works. But I can't be fucking bothered to explain it. Like, that's. And the thing is, it's not like I hate white people. I don't hate white people. Of course I don't. Like, I have friends who are white, and I don't. I love white people. I do. I love white person. Like, individual whites. I love individual whites. Individual whites are lovely. You are friendly. When there's one of you, you're friendly, you're charming, you ask cute questions, like, what's turmeric? And it's like, it's great, like, I love it, right? Like, that's... But when there's a lot of you, like, that's when it gets scary, right? Like, have you... Like, when there's a lot of... Like, have you ever been to Perth? It's like that, right? Like, there's too many whites, and then you get off the plane and someone cow punches you, and you're like, is that the culture? Like, what is? But when there's one white person, it's lovely. You can have like an individual white. You can have them at a party. Like, they'll brighten up the room. Like, they're the vanilla scented candles of the races. They really are. They're wonderful. And you never see an individual white angry. Like, that's the best part. Like, you never, like, they're always happy, they're always smart. The only time you see an individual white angry is when they have to shush someone. Like, oh, you love a good shush. Oh, white people love shushing. Oh my God. We're like, and I kind of get it, like, because we're loud, like browns and blacks and stuff. We're like, wow! And you're like, I just want to watch the fucking movie. Like, I paid money for this ticket. I just want to, like, and they're like, wow! And you see the white person be like, this fucking bullshit. I just want to get out one night and be like, shh. And we don't know what to do with that because shh doesn't exist in our culture. So we, like, freak the fuck out. We're like, oh, Shah, you're in charge now. Like, that's how we don't know what to, and that's how white people took over the world. Because, well, you didn't send armies. There were no armies in North America. There was no armies in Australia. There were no armies in India. You just sent, like, one white guy who got off the ship because we were like, wow! And one white guy's like, shh. And we're like, sorry, sir, you're in charge. Like, that's how it happened. But for me, it's just frustrating because, like, I like talking about race. I find it interesting. I find it fascinating. I find the way people interact about it interesting. But I feel like white people aren't honest about race, right? Like, they're not honest about, like if I say Black Lives Matter, anywhere I say it, there's always one white person who's like, all lives matter. It's like, really? Really? All lives matter? Really? All lives matter? Like, Instagram influencers. Like, really? Their lives matter? Really? Sam Newman. Really? You're telling me Sam Newman's life matters? Really? Fuck you. Like that's my one complaint against COVID. I mean, overall, it's been a bummer of a virus, but my main complaint against COVID is I thought it would be more effective. Like, I thought it would kill more people. Like, I was promised a boomer, like, cull. You know, like, I thought finally old people would die, like Sky News ratings might drop for a little while. We might get a fucking Labour government for 1 fucking year. Like, no one would give a fuck about franking credits. Like, I was excited about that. And I know some of you are like, hey, my grandmother's a boomer. And I know, I'm sorry, but also your grandmother hates black people, so fuck her. And by the way, it's not my fucking fault she was at COVID risk because you put her in a fucking aged care facility. Like, white people love aged care facilities as much as they love flags. Like, what the fuck is that? How many Four Corners reports do you need to watch of an orderly beating the shit out of your grandparents for their painkillers before you're like, maybe I'll kick the extra roommate out of the fucking house share and let grandma sleep in the guest bedroom until she finally dies over there, like with her loved ones holding her hands and surrounding her as she watches Andrew Bolt on the TV one last time. And Andrew said, Melbourne's too multicultural. And your grandma goes, yes, Andrew, it's true. And then she goes. Anyone left Melbourne after lockdown ended, like, and go to one of the other cities or states, like right after it ended? No? Yeah, where did you go? Where did you go? Sydney? I went to Sydney as well. You might have had this, okay. They don't know how to deal with people in Melbourne and what we went through. It was really annoying, right? Like, I went to Sydney. I went the day after lockdown ended. I went to Sydney for work, and I landed, and they had no, like, they'd be like, because you know what happened is they'd come up to you and they'd be like, how was it? How was the lockdown? And then you'd be honest as a Melburnian, because like Melbourne, like we don't have fucking time to lie anymore. Like, we are a city that's been stripped away to... You know what it's like? Melbourne is a city of 4 million people who soul-searched simultaneously. Right? Like, we are... You know, like, we're like those hipster idiots who fucking go for a 7-day silent retreat and they pay lots of money for it. We did that, but we got it for free. And then it didn't end after 7 days. It just kept going. Like, we found ourselves and then we were stuck with ourselves, like, for a long time. And right, so like you go to Sydney and they're like, how was it? And you're like, oh, it was hard. It was so hard. Like, I can't remember chunks of it. Like, it's all like a gray mass in my memory. Like, I didn't know some days if it was a Monday or if a Friday, and it didn't matter. Like, that's so weird. Like, time lost meaning. Like, it was so difficult. And they want to relate. God bless them. So they'll be like, yeah, our 5 days were hard too. And it's like, fuck you, man. I hate you. I hate you so much. Like, that's... And I realized, like, that's why, like, our grandparents never talked about the war. Like, that's why, you know, like, you'd go up to Grandpa and you'd be like, how was the war, Grandpa? And Grandpa would be like, yeah, normally they wouldn't say anything, and you were like, oh, it's because they're traumatized. No, it's because you were fucking trying to relate. And you were so, because you'd be like, how was it, Grandpa? And Grandpa would be like, oh, I saw my best friend die in a trench as a bullet exploded through his brains. His blood splattered all over me and dripped down my face as I held a picture of my loved one waiting for the gas to take over. And you're like, I fell down once too. And Grandpa's like, fuck, I wish the Germans had won. Like, I hate you so much, right? Like, that's... I didn't realize, like, how traumatized we were as a city. Like, we were so traumatized. I didn't realize this until, like, the 5-day lockdown. Remember, like, the snap 5-day fucking... Oh, my God. That freaked me out. My friend called... I didn't know it was going to happen, right? Like, so I'm driving home, and my friend calls me up, and he's like, oh, my God! Daniel Andrews is doing a press conference, and he isn't wearing North Face! And I was like, oh, shit! Like, where do I... I didn't know... I pulled over, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do I prepare prepare. Like, I went to Chemist Warehouse and bought hair dye. Like, I'll buy hair. I'll do that. I know that. Like, that's all I did. Anyone else dye their hair during lockdown? Anybody? No? Oh, one person. There we go. What color did you go?
Natural hair color. Red.
Red. You went red. Okay, cool. Like, that's, I did it. I went blonde. I should not go blonde. I do not look good as a blonde. I looked like a reverse Chris Lilly. Like it's not a race crime, but it should be. Like, that's how I looked, you know? Did this happen to you, though? It happened to me a lot. My friends, when I posted a picture of myself with the blonde hair on Instagram, like an idiot, and my friends started calling me up, and they'd be like, hey, are you okay? Yeah, why? They're like, oh, because you colored your hair, and when someone their life is out of control, they color the hair to control something in their life. Like, that's why people, like, are you, I was like, I'm fine, fuck off. Like, I'm fine, I just colored my hair because I was curious, it's not a big deal. What else happened during lockdown?
Haircut.
Oh, my wife had an affair. So, when you go to Chemist Warehouse to buy the hair dye, they should not sell that to you without a mental health care plan. Like, that should be a conversation you have to have, where it's like, hi, I want to go blonde. It's like, okay, go see a therapist for 10 sessions, then come back, then we'll talk about it. Like, that's how that should go. So yeah, that's, that happened. She had an affair. She didn't call it an affair. She said she's polyamorous, which is hipster for cheating. And by the way, fuck you. I know I'm in Melbourne, but I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna fucking say it anyway. I don't think polyamory is a real thing. I don't think it's a real fucking thing. I think it's bullshit. I think polyamory, for those of you who don't know what it is, right? Polyamory is when one person says, I like fucking lots of people. Guess what, asshole? We all like fucking lots of people. The only difference is when we commit to someone, we honor that commitment, or lots of people won't fuck us. But either way, that's a choice we are making, right? And by the way, when did Melbourne get so fucking full of polyamorous people all of a sudden? I left a Muslim country to get away from that shit, and I come here, and it's just bearded guys with 4 girlfriends. When did this become Saudi or fucking Arabia all of a sudden? That's not how a relationship works. Stop fucking using the LGBTQI movement as political cover for your desire to fuck lots of people. Fuck you. Like, the way a relationship works is you commit to one another and you honor that fucking commitment until you reach the 10-year mark, and then at the 10-year mark you have sex with a co-worker and you never tell anyone about it, but it kind of eats you up inside, and then you just let it kind of fester, and then like on your deathbed you're lying there with your loved ones all around you, and the last words out of your mouth are the name of the co-worker that you fucked 40 years before. And everyone's like, why did they say that? Like, who is that person? Like that, because that's the way our parents did it, and that's the way their parents did it, and that's the way it's been done since the dawn of time. Right? That's... So she said she wants to have an open marriage. Now, male privilege is when a man earns more money than a woman doing the exact same job. Female privilege is when a woman can say, I want to have an open marriage, and then right away be deep-throating a 25-year-old podcast producer named Alex in the backseat of his car while I'm still downloading Tinder. And that's That's a subtle difference there. She did this 3 months after we got married. So we got married in September of 2019. This was my second marriage, by the way. I've been married once before. Been married twice now because I'm not a fucking loser. And I don't know why I said that. Sorry. But yeah, I was married for 12 years, and I had a child with my first partner. But we got married very young. We were in Pakistan, and you get married when you're young and dating in Pakistan. You have to get married, and so we got married. And then after 12 years, we're like, let's stop doing this. So we stopped. And then I met someone else, and we were together for 4.5 years, and she said she wants to get married, and we got married. By the way, it was a destination wedding. She wanted to have a destination wedding, so we had a destination wedding in Thailand, because at the time I was working at the ABC, and I had this great job that paid a lot of money, and I was like, this isn't ending. They had read for 15 years. I can easily do 16. That didn't work out. And so I will say this though, by the way. If anyone here is planning on getting married, get married in fucking Thailand. It is amazing. Oh my God, we had the best wedding. It was unbelievable. They give you so much value for money compared to the shit you get in Australia. Thai weddings are unbelievable, right? We had our own firework display. We had our own fucking firework display. We also could have had a baby elephant at the wedding, but my friends were like, that's cruel, so we canceled it. So instead, we just had the fireworks, which were lit by a Thai shirtless man with no safety goggles or gloves, lighting explosives inches from his face. And everyone's like, yeah, that's fine. And it was amazing. We had a brown wedding, and then the very next day in the same venue, we had a totally different white wedding, because I'm brown and she was white. She is still white, that didn't change in the affair. But although she's Italian, so they're the browns of the whites. Like that's how. And because you know what it is, the Thai, like they don't care. Like they will throw bodies at wedding prep. Like, oh my God, like the Thai will throw bodies at wedding prep. Like they'll throw bodies at wedding prep like a Russian general at the Battle of Kursk in the Second World War. Like, get in there! Get in there! That never gets a big laugh. It's always like one or two guys who kind of look a little bit like me, and like, I know why. You know why it is? Because it's Eastern Front comedy. That's why it is, right? Because nobody fucking laughs at Eastern Front comedy. If I had done Western Front comedy, oh my God, Battle of Gallipoli, you guys would be like, oh, that's so funny. You know what? It's fucking Western Front privilege, and I am sick of it. So. My friends started worrying about me. So this happened basically a week before lockdown started. So I found out, and then she moved out to live with him or whatever, and lockdown started right after that, and so like the big lockdown. So I kind of did that alone, and it was miserable. My friends were worried about me because anyone here ever been cheated on? Anybody? Yeah? Yeah, you've been cheated on. It fucking sucks, doesn't it? Like, people who don't know, like, anyone here cheated? Yeah, no one ever fucking raised their hand, right? But they're fucking assholes in here, right? Because here's the thing, if you get cheated on, it fucking sucks. People don't realize how much it fucking hurts. Do you know what the punishment for cheating, for adultery, is in Islam? You get stoned to death. And my whole life, I was like, that's fucked up. And now I'm like, I get it. Like that, someone fucked around with Muhammad and he was not happy. Like that, it makes sense to me now. Like that's, because my friends would call me up and they'd be worried. And they're like, you know, how are you doing? Like, are you okay? What do you say? What do you say when like your life is basically ended in a way that you'd planned for the next 50 years? You know, like it just, well, how do you, are you okay? Like, what am I supposed to say to that? Like, am I okay? No, I'm not okay. You wanna know how I feel? I'll tell you how I feel. I feel like Thanos at the end of Avengers Endgame. You know when like Thanos sits down and he just waits to turn to dust? That's how I feel. I feel like I just want to sit down and turn to dust. And I know many of you are like, but Thanos was the villain. It's like, yeah, but in his head, he was the hero, right? Like, that's how we all live our lives. We make plans in our head, we're the heroes, and all you can hope for is that when you finish your plans and you end your story, too many other people don't think of you as a villain. Like, that's a good life well lived. And all that, and heroes make plans, and Thanos' plan was to kill half the universe, and that's a bad plan, but I made a plan, and my plan was to grow old together, to buy a house together, to have kids together. And then like that, both our plans just turned to dust. I just want to sit down and wait until I turn to dust. But you can't say that to your friends. It's too much for them. It scares them. They can't handle that. So instead you say the only thing you can say, right? Like I'm sure you said, which is like, when they're like, oh, how are you doing? It's like, oh, you know, it is what it is. When someone says it is what it is, what they're not saying is that's what it is actually is, right? It is. Because I had a therapist during lockdown, like we all fucking did like Zoom sessions and stuff. Like, remember that shit? And she would ask me, she's like, are you having suicidal thoughts? And I was like, yeah. But just a normal amount. Like, just, like, you know, just standard. Like, who doesn't have suicidal thoughts, right? Like, what kind of narcissistic asshole doesn't have suicidal fucking thoughts, right? Like, why are you not contemplating your mortality at any point? Like, that's, like, most of the time it'll be shit like, oh, you know, if I kill myself, who'll come to the funeral, I wonder? Like, that's what you want to know, right? Like, with me, it became an obsession where I was like, I started having suicidal thoughts just to wish revenge on people. Like, that was how bad it got. Like, at one point, like, when I found out she was having the affair, we were still living together, and I was flying to Sydney for work, and she's at home, and I'm on the phone with her, and she's like, shut up. And I'm like, no, you shut up. And she's like, no, you shut up. And I shut the phone, and the entire flight, all I'm thinking is, I hope this plane crashes. I hope it goes down over the ocean and they never find my body. And the last thing she's left with is guilt because she didn't say I love you or anything nice. She said shut up, and it eats her up inside like a fucking cancer for the rest of her life. And then I realized I'm a brown man on a plane hoping it crashes. Is that terrorism? That's terrorism, right? Like, is that... Like, now I know why ISIS was so angry. It was all the fucking polyamory. Like, that's what pissed him off, right? Fuck it, I'll tell you this. I saw his dick. the guy that she's with. So, here's what happened, right? I found out that they were having an affair. And I asked her to stop. And she said she will stop. But I knew she hadn't stopped because she was still too happy. Yeah. And I know how happy I make someone, it's not that fucking happy, right? So I was like, something's going on. So I logged into her Instagram account. And I know I shouldn't do that. You shouldn't log into someone's Instagram. It's an invasion of privacy. But you also shouldn't fuck someone else while I'm still paying off $80,000 in wedding debt, so fuck off. And so I logged into her Instagram account just when they were sexting. And he took a picture of his dick and sent it to her. And I logged in at the same, and so it's the first thing I saw. And it was amazing, I'll be honest. I can't even hate, like, it was huge. Oh my, I was so big, I was like, I'm happy for you, like, good on you, that's well done, like, it was so big 5G protesters could gather underneath it. Like, that's how big it was. It had girth, you know, like that. So now I'm back on the fucking, now I'm single again. I'm 42 years old, twice divorced and single, and that's not a good look. But eventually I'll start dating again. been about a year now. All right, I'll say this and I'll let you go. In defense of dick pics. Because I told my friends, I was like, I guess I'll have to start dating again. I'll go on the apps, I guess, I don't know. And I'll only go on Bumble because I'm a feminist ally. And, sorry. And, but I was like, all right, you know, and my friends were like, that's great, just don't send a dick pic. And I was like, yeah, fair enough, absolutely, of course. But then I was like, is that fair, really? Like, what other choice do I have? How else can I communicate what I've got to, because what am I gonna do? Go on the apps and set up a profile and then swipe until you match with someone, and that's like a rare thing already, because like after like 2 divorces and everything, like after the second divorce, people are like, maybe it's on him, like that's fair, and that's fair. So I'm like, okay, but maybe I match with someone, and we go out on a date, and you have a drink, and it's a rare thing that like you have the drink and you actually connect, and so like that's a wonderful thing when that happens, and so you connect, and then you're like, oh, you know, okay, maybe that would be nice to see this person again, but now I can only see this person after a week and a half because I'm a week on, week off parent with my kid, and so now there needs to be someone who's going to wait a fucking week and a half to see me again, but like let's say there's someone who's like, oh, I'll wait, and so I see them a week and a half later, and we go out for drinks again, and we have a nice time, and this time maybe she's like, come back to my place, or maybe I'm like, come back to my place, and she's like, yes, and then maybe we go back to like a place, and you know, we kiss, and maybe kissing turns to sex, and that's like the sex the first few times, and you have a connection the first few times, sex is amazing. Like your arms are wrapped together, and your legs are wrapped together, and your heart is wrapped together, and it feels like you're coming in each other's souls, and it's just wonderful. And then we've been together for a year now because we just connected and we got along great, and why not? And we've been together for a year and we're getting to know each other, and then after a year she's like, you know, maybe we should move in together. And you're like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. Let's move in together. So you go to IKEA, and if you don't kill yourselves, you come back and you set up a place together. And now it's been 4 years together. And she's like, you know what? Like, it's been 4 fucking years. Let's get married. I want to get married. And I'm like, are you sure? Because like I can't go through another divorce. Like, it's a really bad look for me at this point. And she's like, no, I really want to do this. You can trust me. I'm here to stay. So I'm like, fine, let's get married. And then she's like, yeah, but I want to get married in Thailand. Like, I want to have a Thai wedding. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we go to Thailand, we get married, and we come back from Thailand. And then a week later, she's like, I think I'm polyamorous now. Like, that's a real fucking thing. And now I got to deal with that shit as well. Because now she's saying stuff like, yeah, but he's my soulmate. And it's like, really? Do you know how hurtful that is to hear? That he's your soulmate? That like how upsetting that is, that you are the kind of fucking idiot who believes in soulmates? Like, oh my god, why didn't that come up in the first 4 fucking years together? Like, that's the kind of shit you should really front load. Like, that's you should start with, I'm an anti-vaxxer, I killed a homeless man once, and I believe in soulmates. And out of those 3, the soulmates one is, you're like, that person's a fucking idiot. Like, that's a more, like, yeah. And now she's gone. So now I'm just alone at home during lockdown, just upset, heartbroken, just like, and nostalgia kicks in, and that's a dangerous fucking thing, and I know it's a dangerous thing. You start thinking about the good times, and I know it's dangerous because I'm an immigrant from a third world country, right? And I know it happens to me because now sometimes, like, I left Pakistan for a reason 9 years ago, but now sometimes I'll find myself getting nostalgic, and I'll think things like, remember getting kidnapped? That was great. Like, you really felt alive, you know, like, that's not good. And so, like, now you gotta push that shit away, and then you're just crying. And that's another thing. Like, when you're a 42-year-old Pakistani man who's crying for the first time in his life because you spent your whole life pushing shit down, like, here's something you discover, is you can't choose your cry. Like, it's just a noise. It's just gonna come out the way it's gonna come out. And you're like, this is a lot more high-pitched than I thought it would be. Now I'm just annoying myself, and that's horrific. And then you're just at home, and you're crying, and like, what do I do with all this pain and grief and sorrow? And so you're just like, I'll do what I know how to do. I'll write a fucking comedy show about it, and I'll put it up at the comedy festival so people can be like, ha ha ha, look at his pain, everyone. And then maybe enough people will buy tickets, and that'll fucking finish paying off that fucking wedding debt, and that'll be how I can't say all that. I can't communicate all. So instead, here's a picture of my dick. Here's a picture of, in fact, here's a picture of his dick. It's way better. It is what it is. My name's Sami Shah. Thank you very much.